The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
Thank you for joining us today for another edition of the Mangano Family Foundation Doing Good radio show. This program was really started in an effort to highlight all the positive things that are going on across Long Island, talk about those who are making a difference and making an impact, both with nonprofits and community organizations, as well as our partners in government. So Sal Mangano heads up the Mangano Family Foundation. Thank you for hosting and being here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you both for joining us.
Yeah, we have two great guests here. We have Terry McSweeney, who's a Town of Babylon councilman. He's joined us today, as well as Ryan Burnett, prolific businessman, and also the head of a really amazing foundation, the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund, that does so much for our local community, which we'll get into in a little bit. But we'll start with Terry McSweeney, Babylon Town councilman. Great leader in the Town of Babylon, really focused on a lot of really high impact, quality of life issues, community involvement for many years. So Terry, talk to us a little bit about, your background. And I know you're an FDNY firefighter for a long time. So talk to us about, what made you get involved in supporting the local community.
That's a great question, Anthony, and thank you. And thank you, Anthony and Sal, for having me on this program. I got involved probably at a very, very young age because I grew up with a severely handicapped brother who wasn't really given much of a chance right from birth. He was, the doctor said he would never make it out of the hospital, and he gave us 15 great years, until he eventually passed away. But what does that have to do with getting involved in government? At a very early age, my father was a firefighter as well. My mother worked part-time jobs when she could, and full-time sometimes, but really had to attend to my brother. My parents got involved with their elected officials because of some insurance issues. And my brother's case was very, very unique to the fact that the hospitals would not let him come home unless he had 24-hour nursing at home. No insurance company wants to pay for that. And that was my first introduction at an extremely young age to a very young Richard Schaefer and a very young Sandra Backety, who was a legislator at the time. And
I think Rich Schaefer's still young, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there.
He's older than me. But Rich, right from the word go, just came out with what can I do to help? Introduced my parents to Legislator Backety. There was numerous, Owen Johnson was involved, and it wasn't about politics. And I never understood politics because I seen a way that everyone came together to help this lonely little lower middle class family. And that really struck my interest. So then you fast forward, like every other kid, I was probably a real knucklehead growing up, but I loved where I lived. I loved the neighborhood that I grew up in, and I bought my first house right across the street from my parents, pretty much. Got involved with the local civic community, and at that time, it was during the housing crisis with the mortgages, and we had a lot of issues with people breaking into vacant homes and such, and stealing the copper, and or they were just setting up shop, and neighbors didn't really know who they were. And I got involved with the civic, eventually becoming civic president and working with all of our elected officials. And so I reconnected with Supervisor Schaefer, who said, "You're not the same Terry McSweeney," and he put his hand down by his hip, and I said, "Yeah, I'm that same kid." And he said, "I remember helping your parents." And I said, now I need some help, and I was kind of the voice for the community there. And I worked with our elected officials, where sometimes it's very frustrating, you know how government works. I always say government has two speeds, slow and reverse, because a lot of the things that we do don't make a lot of sense to some people. But I got involved because I cared about my neighborhood, I cared about my neighbors that I knew all my life. And then just kind of working alongside with Rich, I started to think that wow, this government isn't everything that you see on TV. It's not what you see, up in Albany or down in Washington. And I really, I just try to surround myself with good people. And I really honestly feel that Rich is a really good guy, that he cares, and his decisions are made from the heart. And from there, I might have been a pest at a time. I never asked him that question, but just wanted to be around him and such. And slowly, he started getting me involved in government, and then here I am today. And I do attribute, Anthony, you know this more than anyone, it's very difficult sometimes when the ball is not in your court to deal with the public when it comes to government and politics. And then I bring in my fire department family and my experience through the fire department, where if you can make it through, a fire department kitchen and you're okay, you can make it through anything. And so it really taught me how to have thick skin and, dealing with the public and everything. Not everybody likes you. And some people don't even know why they don't like you, just because you might have a certain letter next to your name. And that's the only reason why. And I think the fire department, the culture of the fire department really prepped me for, having thick skin and dealing with the public.
And the fire department, you've been in FDNY for 20 years? Or?
22 years, yep. So I love it. I honestly, I don't mean any disrespect, but I feel bad for people that didn't have the experience that I had. It's the greatest group of guys that I can ever think of. They have your back. And the old story I always say was, when I first got on a job, my wife was extremely nervous every time, especially when I did the overnights and stuff like that. And then she got to meet the guys that I work with, and she's like, I'm not that nervous anymore, because she knew that they would go through hell and high water to really, make sure that I was all right, and reciprocal.
And I'm sure, being, an FDNY member, the leadership and the training, and the teamwork and the skills that you build there is really, important and transferable to what even you're doing in government.
Yes, without a doubt. I'm not tooting my horn here, but I want to give credit to where credit's due. In 2021, I received the Medal of Valor from the City of New York for rescuing a woman out of a burning house fire. When they asked me about everything, and I said, it's not about me. It's about the guys who trained me, all these years, that attribute to all this. And the same thing with government. When I'm in a room, I just want to be in a room sometimes, and even if it has nothing to do with, anything that I'm involved with in the town, but I like to see how great people handle situations. And I really do contribute our town board in Babylon to really great people that really care and that don't play the politics role, and a lot of people listening might think that that's crazy and that's a line, but it's 100% true, because I would not be here if that was the case. If this was a very partisan type of place, I wouldn't be here.
No, I totally hear you. And so the Medal of Valor, that's incredible. So provide a little bit of insight on what happened that day and how that came about in terms of, the rescue and
yeah.
all that.
So I remember the day we pulled up, and we were coming off of, I believe it was Rockaway Boulevard in Queens, in South Jamaica section of Queens. And you could see the smoke. We pull up. It was very difficult to see which house was on fire. There was 3 houses that were burning. And my officer, my lieutenant at the time, he kind of said, wait, just do your job. He was very confident in how the training that we got. I went to the rear of I got lucky because I picked the right fire building. I went to the rear, I threw my ladder up, and as I threw my ladder up to a window, there was a guy bailing out of the window right next to me. He was being chased out by fire. I felt comfortable enough that I can get into this room, do a quick search, and if I had to, I would bail out just like he was. The room I picked was a bathroom with a very large window, which made me not realize it was a bathroom. And I went in and I fell into the tub. The guy from the company next door, who was buttoning the ladder, he comes up, he says, "Are you all right?" I said, "I'm all right." But I realized now the conditions were getting significantly worse. I closed the door to the bathroom, and then conditions got a little bit better. The bathroom was probably your normal sized bathroom, but the woman was lodged between the toilet bowl and the tub. And I couldn't see anything. It was, it was completely black. And I just swiped my hand, and I said, "Uh-oh, that was soft. It might have been a purse. It might have been a towel." And I went back and I felt the person, and I felt like the upper extremities underneath the armpits and everything. And I gave my transmission over the radio. Immediately, help came flying up the stairs. The woman was partially handicapped. She was in a severe house fire about 2 months before that as well, 2 or 3 months before that as well. Wow. And here she is in a bad situation, and I was able to, and she didn't weigh that much. I'm going to say if she weighed 100 pounds, but I was completely exhausted at that point, and I needed help. And thankfully, the brothers came up the stairs. They helped me get her out, to an ambulance. I don't know which hospital she went to, and then you just go back and you continue doing your job.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was something. And again, I give the credit to the guys that trained me before. The years when I got to my firehouse, we had a ton of guys with over 20 years experience, and South Jamaica is pretty much a hotbed for, fires. So that's a lot of experience. Pretty much every day they go to work, they're going to a fire for 20 years. So they were able to give me a lot of tricks to the trade as a new firefighter. And then I was eventually able to pass off to our younger firefighters as well.
Wow, that's amazing. That's some story.
Yeah, I wish it's something that everyone can experience. The one great thing, and I can associate this with government, is the fire department is like a chain. And if one person doesn't do their job, that's a break in a chain, and the chain is now weakened, and somebody's going to get hurt. So the fire department really teaches you accountability, and you have to be proficient. You have to know your job. And the same thing with government. If we're not all working together, who are we working for? We're supposed to be working for the better of the people. But if we're not working together, it's a broken chain, and nothing will get done.
Yeah, and kind of talking, it's a good segue talking about, volunteer fire departments, talking about FDNY, NYPD, local police departments, and especially, going into, the trades, whether it be plumbing, electrical, carpentry, you name it, manufacturing jobs. I recently have been coming across a lot of reports, even from the New York Federal Reserve, that talks about, Long Island and the job market in terms of, baby boomer population retiring from their jobs. And there's not a large pipeline of people going into them that's much needed. And what Ryan is doing, through his fund is just amazing, right? So you have couple of different hats you wear, a couple of different companies. Yep. I know Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning is your main business.
Baby. Yeah.
Let's talk a little about what you do there.
Well, that's a company I started. This is my 20th year in business. So, I serve a lot of the community. We probably have 4,000 to 5,000 accounts, maybe even close to 6,000. And, that's basically where I spend most of my time, because it is, a high demand job, especially this time of year. It's cold out. Everyone wants to be pretty close to me right now. So yeah, they want to be a phone call away if they need me.
Yeah, I'm sure you're getting a lot of texts too. I need you to come over.
All sorts of texts all the time. And, you try to answer all of them, which I'm pretty good at. I'm pretty OCD with answering every text and email before I go to bed. That's like a blessing and a curse, I guess you could say, right? But, prior to that, I did construction. And now the same guy that I did construction with is now my partner in a construction company.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. So his name is Bob. Good guy. Sal knows him.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. So
that's great.
A little grumpy sometimes, but he's good. Hope he's listening.
I've never seen him grumpy.
And so kind of, from being so involved in the industry and day in and day out and kind of seeing the trends, talk a little bit about your fund, your Head Start fund and how that came about, and really kind of like what the goals and missions are there.
So I noticed in the industry that I got into, the heating and air conditioning world, more, I'd say, oil burner mechanic, gas mechanic, that's really where I started, that there were no young kids getting into it. So I was the young kid 23 years ago when I got into the industry, and I still feel like the young kid, which is a major problem because I'm 41 now. Mm-hmm. So, it's just something that, I started seeing there, and then you start talking to more and more people. And I mean, how many years have people said that they can't get good help? It's been years. Yeah. And now since COVID, I think that's springboarded it quite a bit. But we actually had this idea years ago. We've been, putting videos out on Facebook talking about trades and different things. And, we came up with the idea that I didn't want to pigeonhole myself and just kind of talk about HVAC and what I do and construction, because not everybody wants to do that. It's a dirty industry. So I wanted to get involved with something where it's open to every industry, and I can, basically join forces with a lot of different industry people and, start talking to these kids at a young age about their futures.
Yeah, and the future really is bright, right? I mean, it's really amazing when you look at it. And I think what I've been seeing recently is there's been more acceptance about, alternative path that, a 4-year, traditional college degree might not be for everybody. And we don't have to, constantly kind of push, our students into that path because, working in the trades, it's not a job, it's a career.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that you could, the amount of money you can make, the security, the pension, the healthcare, I mean, it really is incredible. And, if you were an entrepreneur and had entrepreneurial spirit and you wanted to start your own company, you could do so. Yeah. And I've been starting to see that. I even see like a lot of the schools and the superintendents and school districts. There's a couple in particular, like Deer Park recently had, a trades fair in high school, which was incredible, right? Yeah. It wasn't just a college fair, it was trades, talking about inviting companies to talk about career opportunities there. So I've been seeing that, and I think it's much needed.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. Let's put it this way. When I graduated, I graduated in 2002, and I would tell people that I'm an oil burner mechanic working for a company, and they'd be like, "Oh, you didn't want to go to college?" Like as if they felt bad for me. And it was, not a great feeling at the time, but I kind of saw the future. If there's less competition, then it's going to be easy for me to get to the top. That's kind of how I looked at it. And now that, we're at the position that we're at, now it's like, all right, now who's going to help me? And when there is nobody, that's a real problem. But, you talk about professions and the trades, and I think that's the stigma we're trying to change is, every job, every industry is a profession. I have a friend he's head of pediatric surgery in Stony Brook. And he says, what I do is a trade. He goes, you work on, pipes in someone's houses. I work on pipes in the human body. He goes, not exactly the same. He said, but that's my profession. That's my trade. That's my craft. So what we do comes off very blue collar, but we're also helping kids that do go to college, connect with, employers for when they get out of college so they could start their careers, whether it be architecture, engineer, anything along those lines, lawyer, doctor. I mean, there's plenty of connections at our meetings.
So the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. So walk me through like an example of, a student that kind of got involved in your program and where did they come from, where did they go, and where are they, heading?
Okay. I always talk about Diego. He's was from Farmingdale and great kid. He came to us because every kid that comes to us says, I want to be a plumber, electrician, or a carpenter, or an HVAC guy. Those are the 4 things. And meanwhile, there's how many different jobs out there. And he was gung-ho, and we connected him with John Guadagno, who's president of Local 25. And John was ready to bring him on and get him onto the local. And throughout the meetings through the year, we also have a woman named Dana Persico. She owns Long Island Nail, Hair, and Skin.
And went to school with her husband.
Yeah, with Joe. Joe's a great guy. Joe and Dana come to a lot of the meetings. Yep. They're great people, so thank you guys if you're listening. So he got to talking to Dana, and we find out that he was a barber, an unlicensed barber, and he was cutting his friend's hair for a couple of years, and he really enjoyed it. And Dana spoke to him about getting some, grants for schooling and helping him along the way and getting licensed as a licensed barber. And that's what he ended up doing. So he came to us thinking he wanted something, and then the more people he spoke to figured out that, what he's already doing is the path he wants to stay on, and we just helped him get to that point. So we're just connecting the dots. What we're doing is not hard for us 4 in this room right now. We're pretty good at networking and knowing the right people, but a lot of people aren't, and that's what we find. Like, what comes easy to us isn't so easy for most people.
And you have an annual gala that raises money for
We have an annual gala at the Piermont, but more importantly, we have monthly meetings at the Piermont.
So what happens at the monthly meetings?
So at the monthly meetings, like we just had one on Wednesday nights. Today's Friday. We had probably about 22 mentors of all different industry. So we had John from Local 25. We had my friend Rich, who's head of facilities for Rudin Management. They own and operate 10 million square feet in Manhattan. bunch of different people. We have people who build and manufacture parts for submarines. We have people like Dana that have a cosmetology school. We have people who sell insurance, people who pick up garbage. We had Will Flower there with Steve Sousey. He did a financial literacy talk, actually, Steve. He was the CFO for Winters Brothers. And we had about 40 kids at the meeting. And some of their parents came. And we do basically like a 45-minute talk. That talk was about financial literacy and how important it is to save money and, put money aside, especially when you're young, you live at home. And then we network afterwards. And that's what the kids really like. They like to network with everybody after.
That's great. That's fantastic. And how does the word get out about those meetings?
Social media. I go to a lot of schools. Any school that'll have me, I'll go. And I'll talk to the kids. They'll put 50, 60 kids in a room. I'll talk to them about my story. And I'll talk to them about what we do and some of the success stories we've had with some of the kids. And, it interests a lot of them. And we probably have close to 300 kids that have signed up. Wow. We don't get that every meeting, but it's just like anything else. You're going to have kids that, think it's a good idea, sign up and never come. Then you're going to have kids that come for a meeting and say, it's not for me. And then you're going to have those kids that really want it. And they continually come to the meeting because every meeting there's different mentors. So to kind of springboard into that, we had a kid who, his mom and dad were my first customers in Massapequa. One of mine were first. And he had a sports management degree. So his mom reached out to me through Facebook and said, my son has a sports management degree. He's 25 years old, can't get a job. He's reached out to everybody. So she said, can he come to your meeting? I know it's very blue collar at your meeting, but, can he come and check it out? I said, absolutely. So he came. And that particular night, there was really no one there for him to talk to about sports management. And I could see he got discouraged. And he left. He didn't say goodbye. And I had his number, so I called him the next day. And his name is Tom. And I said, hey, Tom, what'd you think of the meeting? He goes, it's good, but it comes off very blue collar. I said, well, what are you looking to do? We told him about sports management. And I explained to him that Tom Palomaro, who owns the hockey rinks, is a very good friend of mine. He's usually at the meetings. So he has relationships with the Rangers and the Islanders. So maybe I could connect you guys. I connect him with Tom. Tom ends up liking him so much that Tom hires him. Loves his job now. So that's all it was. So it's every industry that we could help.
Yeah, and that is just so important, right? Just trying to get our young students, and recent graduates and young people just understand relationship building and networking and just talking to people and even and today it's even more difficult, right, with social media and they're kind of like trained to like not really interact with people on like a real level. It's really all done through
The biggest thing with the meetings, most people who come for the first time, they say, I looked around the room at the kids and not one kid on his phone. Like, when does that happen?
Right.
Like, they're really like, they're excited and they're also concerned about their futures. And some of these kids that come as early as 9th grade, they have 4 years to build a relationship with somebody and basically kind of plan out their future during their high school career. So it's pretty cool. And the kids that want to go to college, that they'll know better and have a better understanding. I tell them, if you want to be a doctor, why don't you go work in a doctor's office? If you want to be an engineer, why don't you go work in an engineer's office? You don't have to just guess and think you like it, go to college or go to trade school, spend a lot of money.
And then find out you don't like it.
And then find out you hate it. Because that's the next thing is now everyone's saying, wow, there's money to be made in trade school. I'm going to open a trade school. So I tell the parents the same thing. Don't send your kids to trade school until they try it. Because there's plenty of kids that I know that went and spent the 10, 20, 30, 40 grand on trade school and ended up not liking it. It's a waste of money. So.
Yeah, and let me tell you, a 9th grader shows up, like, I'm recruiting that kid. Like,
oh, absolutely.
That's like dedicated. That's somebody who is.
They know what they want.
Yeah. Like
the biggest thing is we have to somehow convince employers that it's better to hire for attitude and not so much for what someone knows. Because in my industry, anytime I've hired a quote unquote mechanic, the attitude's really never been that great. Because especially when there's less competition in the workforce, which is what we're trying to change, it's a little easier for someone to slack off and it makes it harder for a business owner or a manager. So that's the problem we're facing, and then that's why prices of things are so high.
It goes to the old saying, with the right attitude, we can teach you everything that you need to know, but you need to have that right attitude coming out.
And surround yourself with people that have the right attitude.
That's the biggest thing.
Some of them get scorned pretty quick by the bad attitude people.
It's funny because I surround yourself with knowledgeable people. I always say when I walk into the room, I'm usually the least smartest guy there, but I love to surround myself with smart
rooms.
guys because, like, with the knowledge they have and the connections that they have, you know, you might be able to succeed yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there's another company, I won't mention the name, but I had a meeting with them, bigger company on Long Island, they're a developer. And, when I had the meeting, they liked what we were doing. And I said, well, how's your staffing? And they said, our staffing is full. I said, all right, let me rephrase the question. How much of your staffing would change if there was someone better to replace some of your staffing? And they were like, wow, that's actually a really good question.
Yeah,
and that's, I think, even on politics and different areas and
well,
the funeral business, that's the question. Like, there is a lot of people that would be replaced if there was a competition around. And it's sad to say, but it's what keeps everyone on their toes. Yep. Otherwise, you can slack off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that's you're doing great work, and what's awesome about that is you're really making like a meaningful impact on people's lives and companies and also the Long Island economy. Is really helping move it forward. So
no, I appreciate it.
No, that's
once again,
awesome.
It's not without help from people like you in this room.
Yeah,
so
no, listen,
it takes a village.
Yeah, and Sal, I know you've. Through the funeral homes, and through the foundation, you've been, extremely, active, in terms of like getting involved in the local community. I have, we kind of talk about the different initiatives and everything that you have going on. And, it's really just amazing. There's pages and pages of community engagement and outreach that the Mangano family funeral homes and the Mangano family does for the local community. I know you have, Mangano Family Funeral Home at Deer Park, teaming up with the Deer Park Fire Department again this year. Warrior and cancer survivor Joe Baggio and the Works Barbershop, do the 4th annual toy drive. Just give a little bit of talk about
Correct.
the toy drive you do.
Collecting toys until December 13th, and then which is Saturday. And we'll be going to Cohen's Children's Hospital, where Joe was a patient, and he started a toy drive 4 years ago for children that are in the at Cohen's Children's Hospital for Christmas time. And this year he's going to personally deliver the toys himself. So we'll all go in tomorrow, Saturday, and we'll go to the hospital and drop off toys with Joseph and the Deer Park Fire Department. Been collecting toys for about a month now.
Oh, that's fantastic. And, if anybody's listening to this on social media and they still want to contribute even after the fact, by all means, we'll certainly take them and get them over to, the right people.
Absolutely.
To donate.
Yes.
And, I know Tut Hill Mangano Funeral Home that you have in Riverhead. You've been doing a lot of work there, supporting the Butterfly Effect Project. They had a big Thanksgiving basket drive. You've been doing that.
Yes.
Working with that organization, and they're a phenomenal organization.
It is, yes. It's another organization similar to Ryan's foundation, where they just try to, teach kids how to live and teach kids how to, be productive members of society. So it's a great initiative as well.
Yeah,
and you have to add Sal's at every single dinner for us. We only have one a year, but Sal's been a big supporter since the beginning. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Sal, and even in Middle Island, you have a funeral home in Middle Island, and I know you just supported the organization Branches, which is actually right near the funeral home.
Correct, Branches, and also City on a Hill with their Thanksgiving. We did things for them for Thanksgiving as well, and Branches. It's a great organization as well. Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and the work that you do is really incredible, giving back to the local community. And I know this has come up before, and people have emailed. So I know you have 3 locations in Deer Park, Riverhead, and Middle Island.
Yes, sir.
But if somebody is interested or needs to kind of contact you, and recently somebody inquired about pre-planning, like is there a number that they call?
Yeah, sure, they could always call me personally at 631-586-3600. Or they could always go on our website as well, which is manganofh.com.
Great. And so, Ryan, how do people get in touch with you and learn more about the organization?
They could sign up on our website. It's lookwhomadeit.org.
Nice.
Which is a funny name. Everyone's like, well, what does that mean?
I like that.
Just a little background on that real quick is my wife's a teacher. So when they graduate, the kids graduate, it's, look who made it. So the kids going to college. So it's look who made it for everything.
That's great.
Excellent.
That's great.
Councilman McSweeney, how do people get in touch with you if they need to reach you?
I love it when people call my office, 631-957 3081. My assistant's name is Gabriella, and I'm much like Anthony and the rest of the town of Babylon. I actually like when I hear about concerns and complaints, because it keeps me engaged, and it's we're a boots on the ground type of government in Babylon, and that's the best way to do it, I think.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for listening today.
Just thank you both. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for
guys
joining
having
us.
us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
This is fantastic. Keep up the wonderful work. Thank you for everything everybody here does to support the Long Island community. This is the Mangano Family Foundation Doing Good radio show. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.